What's going on today, everybody? So we're getting work on a lot of these installs that I got to do, and the first one that we're gonna do is a brand new fuel pump. So I got the stock fuel pump in there, and it's not gonna be quite enough. I'm going up in injector sizes, which will be another video, but I'm going up in injector sizes, and it's gonna be needing a little bit more pressure to push to it. So 320 AEM fuel filter. We'll get to it. First things first, I don't know how crucial it is, but go through and make sure that there's hardly any fuel in the system. So I've got the fuel super low. That's A, because the dyno, I want to have as much fresh fuel in there as I can. And B, since I'm going to be doing the fuel pump, I have to get in the fuel tank. So might as well make sure that it's as low as it can be. And then we won't have a whole bunch of fuel to deal with in the fuel cell. So we'll hop in the back seats, take the back seat out, and get this fuel pump installed. So to get the fuel out of the system, since the system's pressurized, you can do a couple things. You can pull these off and let the fuel bleed down, but that's not the best idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this number 15 fuel fuse, which is for the fuel pump. I'm going to set it right there. Looks like a good place. And with the car running, it will run it out of fuel. You don't want to be on throttle, but you can have it run and then run out of fuel. Started it up, ran it for a second or two, got the fuel pressure to drop. Since there's no fuel pumping into it, it used up the fuel, shot it into the cylinders. Now we can go ahead and remove the battery cable, and then we can unhook the fuel pump assembly out of the back. One thing you really want to avoid is having fuel spill all over the inside of your car. So take the time and make sure that you get that fuel bled out before you have fuel just dumping into the interior of your car. So now that we're in the back seat, there's two tabs, one on this side and one on that side. And they're right underneath here. You can kind of see that white piece. There's a tab that you pull forward right there. So that black bar, and once you've got the other one undone, there's a post in the middle that you just pull up on, and it should release the whole thing. Be careful because the sides can get caught back again. So we'll go back to the other side. Make sure that this one's loose. Yep, it got caught again. Now it's loose. The whole thing can lift up and out of the way. There you go. So there's the bottom of the seat. There's the middle clip, and then the side clip, the other side clip, and there's also one, this is the rear, where it tucks under. This part goes onto the back of the seat. Here's the middle front, and then one side, and then the other side. And all you have to do is pull this little tab forward, and it releases it, and you can pull it up. You want to lift the front of the seat forward, rotate it down to get it out from this pin, rotate it out that way, and it will come right out. So your fuel pump is on the passenger side rear. There starts off with 4 Phillips head screwdrivers to take the plate off, and then the plate should expose the fuel pump assembly. So we'll go ahead and take these 4 bolts off. Looks like it's going to be a little bit easier if I go ahead and remove this pigtail that's held down right in here by one of these clips, these little pressure clips right here. So we'll just go ahead and pop it up real quick. Now that I've got this out, it's 2 pressure clips on the sides. You just poke it with, I used a little O-ring puller. We're gonna unhook this wire loom right here. And hopefully that will give us enough room to kind of move things around and out of our way. See if we can take this piece off. Go ahead and remove this rubber grommet. And then there's, looks like 3 fuel lines in a connector. So push in both sides, slowly pull it out. Always make sure you have a couple rags available. Now we'll remove all these 8 mils to pull this whole thing out. Now that all those are off, this black piece will come out. We can set that one aside. Since it's got gas on it, I'll set it outside the car, and the whole assembly pops up. It's kind of on a spring, so then we can pull the whole thing out. Maybe tuck some of these wires back so they're not in our way so much. It's still got fuel in the bottom of it, so take your time bringing it out, because see, I'm getting fuel everywhere. Now that we've got our fuel assembly out, I'm going to take a second to clean up all this crap on the top. It's got a little bit of dirt still left on it. So since it's out, we'll take the time, we'll clean it up, because we don't want that going back into our fuel system at all. Now that we're dealing with a lot of fuel, be smarter than me and wear gloves from the beginning. But now we're going to take this apart and get actually to the fuel pump to replace it. So it's actually much harder than it looks. There's 4 tabs, 1, 2, 3, 4, that have to be opened up at the same time. And they're just these little tabs. They just have to be pulled up and over so that you can release these 2. And then these 2 come apart. There's 2 clips that sit right here that just come right out. And then once that comes out, we should be able to pull this whole assembly out. And there's our fuel pump, is right there. So that's what we're getting after, that's what we're gonna try to change. So now that we've got this assembly out, we've got to take this black piece off right here and this white piece. And to do that, there's a clip that you have to pull out and then pull this up, and you should get it out. Now that one's out, make sure not to lose the O-ring that's in there. And then this one has 2 that you pull out. One side might have a screwdriver handy to help you with the other one. Wiggle it out once it gets loose. Now that that one's out, you can push the springs down. And there's 2 different sides of springs. There's a shorter one and a longer one. For reference, this side is the longer one, and you can tell because when you push down, you see the actual, there it is, you see the metal piece sticking out, and you won't see it on the other side. So you push that down, and there's a little C-clamp that's sticking in right there on that groove, and you just pop it off. That C-clamp looks like it's actually an E-clamp, but it's right there. Yeah, you can't see it. It's right there. That clip pulls off. Do not lose that clip because it won't go back together right. And now we should be able to pull this whole top assembly off. Might have some hoses that get caught. So this little wire looks like it wants to stay with the other assembly, so we'll pull this. We'll leave it in there, because this looks like it will come out. And now we've got just the fuel pump in here. So I don't know if you can see down in there, but each side has a clip like this one, where you have to pull them out to release the whole fuel pump. So it looks like you can go in from the front here and kind of pry them out away. So we'll grab a couple screwdrivers. Give it a little bit of a pry on both sides. So the easiest way to go about this is to get a really small screwdriver with a flathead, and what you do is you put it in and you kind of twist it out, and while you're doing that you push down on the connector side of it, and you can get one side, and then what I was doing is holding from the fuel pump, holding it but kind of pulling, like kind of moving my hand so it's kind of putting pressure on the fuel pump. Got the other side, and then it should be able to slide out once you get those unhooked. There we go. So there's the OEM fuel filter, fuel pump with fuel filter. Now that that's out, we'll move on to putting in the new one. So we get a new bladder with this one, that's good. With this one, it actually has a plug that comes with it as it's universal, but it will plug right into our system already. So it looks like we need to steal the top part of this off of here. Pull this one off. Put this on. And then our fuel filter will go on. Now that we've got everything installed, we transferred over this adapter or clamp, whatever it is, to this new one from the old one. And they supply 2 O-rings. Put 1 and 2 on there. Make sure that that's on there really nice and tight, and then we'll get some lube and we'll lube that up and put it actually back in. Now that we've got this back installed, that ring, crush ring or star ring, whatever you want to call it, goes right there. Push it down. It helps to have a pair of not vice grips, needle nose, and you can open them up and push on both sides at once. So we'll go ahead and put this back together. Start by plugging that new fuel pump in, and then we'll come down around the side, and these have to split. Clip back in the black piece, clip back in the white one. And then we'll get this E-clamp back on. It's hard to pick things up with the gloves. Put this back on the spring right here. Now that's back on. That shouldn't be coming apart. Everything else looks fine. We're connected there. We can connect this one back up. This one's on that side. Goes through. And then there's another connection on this one that goes to the other side. So then we'll plop this down. Make sure that this has room to go through. So with the AEM, it comes with a square filter, and it kind of gets in the way right here. So what I was doing is tucking this up around that corner, and it's holding it out of the way so I can get this O-ring down inside of that hole that I got to get it into. There we go. Old pump out, new pump in. Installing it's just as easy as pulling it out, just in reverse. So we'll put it back in, make sure that the little flapper goes in first. Tease everything around. Make sure all your connections are out of the way. And then slowly guide it in. Now that everything's kind of back where it needs to be, we're gonna need this bracket, and I'm gonna clean it off real quick. Make sure that no dust or dirt goes into there. And this ridge goes forward. All the connectors go on the outside of this. There's a little tab, alignment tab on the back side of that bracket that attaches to the fuel pump. And then we'll get a couple nuts started here to keep everything sprung down. It should have a little force pushing back. Don't forget this little gasket. Now that it's all back installed, reinstall your fuel pump fuse, the battery, and then turn the key over and see if you hear the fuel pump start. Always check for leaks too. Big problem if it has a leak right now. It will leak down onto the ground. So that's actually underneath the body of the car, but you have to get to it through the interior. So before you put the seat back on, start the car. Well, turn the ignition to the on position, don't start it, and see if you can hear the fuel pump kick on. You'll hear it start pumping fuel all the way back to the engine. Cool, now we got that installed. That's gonna do it for me. That's how you install a fuel pump in your STI. I'm gonna get out of here. Take it easy, everyone. Peace.